Did they use the Ouija boards?
The Ouija board, that's a wonderful question. I just gave a big presentation on Ouija boards the other night at an art space called Observatory in Brooklyn. The Ouija board seems to have developed as a homemade invention among spiritualists in northern Ohio in 1886. There was a newspaper article here in New York City in early March of 1886 that had an article about how something called a talking board or a spirit board was all the rage in northern Ohio. And this article was accompanied, this was from the New York Daily Tribune, it was accompanied by a little drawing the size of a matchbox that showed the spitting image of what we today would call a Ouija board, and that Connecticut, Ohio spiritualists referred to as a talking board, and that's where Ouija was born.
And you go really on in this book about, very in-depth about the evolution of the Ouija board and the people who owned it, and then how it's never gone out of fashion in a way.
Never gone out of fashion. In fact, someone just called it to my attention that Hasbro, which now owns the rights to Ouija, a couple of years ago started marketing a little pink Ouija board for young adolescent girls, and there was a bit of an outcry from the Christian right. I've written a lot about Ouija, and I think Hasbro wants to keep selling it, but they're very worried about these boycotts because Ouija has a genuinely scary history. People have very creepy stories about Ouija boards.
It does.
I've never done one. Have you?
Oh yeah, they're very interesting, and people say dark energies can
That's
come.
what worries me.
Well, they tell us some of those weird stories.
There have been very frightening stories. You know, a friend of mine wrote a story about a group of people out in Wisconsin who got bored one winter night, started using it, and they started getting these very creepy, scary knocks on their door, and there were voices coming to their doors at night. But I have to say, for all the frightening stories, there's an American poet, tremendously gifted, wonderful man named James Merrill, who in 1976 wrote this vast Ouija-inspired poem called The Book of Ephraim, and he won the Pulitzer Prize for Literature for that work. He put that work, The Book of Ephraim, together with 3 other books, and in 1982 published this massive book called The Changing Light at Sandover. This was the poet James Merrill, and he was one of the most celebrated American poets of the 20th century. He swore until his death in 1995 that his most celebrated works were channeled with the help of a Ouija board, and he was dead serious about it.